I've got a I've got a story to tell you guys. You're not even gonna believe it. This is a ridiculous story. So let's get situated. 15 seconds. Let people show up. Right, Buzz? The cat is very unhappy with me for some reason. 3, 2, 1. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Today is Friday. It is July 2nd, 2021. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. I got a new mug. Good morning, Denise. Denise must have the day off from work. Yeah, so yesterday was yesterday was probably one of the weirdest, least typical days. Oh, working from home in New Jersey. Got it. One of the weirdest, least typical days of my life. So, what do most of my days involve? Whistlekick work and doing client work from home and doing other marketing things and hanging out with the cat. And you know what yesterday was? IT and how do I say this briefly and dangle that carrot to keep you guys listening? Playing ambulance / fire truck / social worker. Yeah. Good morning, Stacy. There's a story. So let me get through the day, and then I'll tell you the story. I had to do some remote work on some computers in the morning, and then had to go over to somebody else's office to potentially dig out an email infection. Come to find out, it wasn't them. They had been infected, and somehow this virus captured their email address, knew that they had been infected, and was kind of like kicking it down the line. So I tracked down who it was infected. It was a realtor in Texas. And I actually dug up her phone number and called her and left her a message. I'm like, this isn't a scam. Your email's infected. And the emails were going out through her account, but as my client. And the only reason that we were able to dig this up is because we had a few rejection messages come back. I actually got a message to my spam from him, so I was able to dig that up. And I was digging into stuff I haven't dug into in a long time. You ever look at the code behind email? Like the headers and everything? Ugh. And then I came home, and I was like, okay, now I'll get this other work done. It's almost time to get this work done. I had lunch, and then I had another client call. I was like, oh my God, you guys, you're killing me. By the way, I have like a total of 3 people that I do IT for. Sorry, 4. That was 3 of them in one day. And they were having some weird stuff going on with a receipt printer. It's a retail store. And I was like, all right. And they've been having problems with it. I said, next time it happens, call me and I'll try to get over it. I don't know what you want from me. Why don't you come sit? She's in a state. Her back legs just didn't work so well. That was not pleasant to watch. And so I finished up and my lunch and raced over there and managed to figure out a workaround. It didn't solve the problem, but it's weird. Are you stuck? Hold on. You can't use your claws to climb up the couch because you get stuck. I know. Got stuck to the couch. Lay right there. I don't want you on me. This is the thin rope. So I was feeling good. You know, I'd helped everybody out and things went well. Came home, managed to do like 5 seconds of work. Trapped another chipmunk. Put him in the car just to go for a ride because it's illegal to relocate animals in Vermont. Oh, and while I was at the store, it's a gallery, crafters gallery. I grabbed this mug because it was super cool. I love the style. And there's some other things. Some things will be gifts. Most of the things are for me. These guys have spent a bunch of money with me, so I had to throw some of it back their way. And so I went to the gym, had a good workout, talked to some people there. That was fun, right? And I'm coming home. I'm coming home the same way I normally come home. And I come around this corner. And I don't like this corner. I've never liked this corner. It narrows and it goes uphill and it's blind on the other side. And I've had issues where I've almost run into a UPS truck because they parked in the road there, and it just, you probably have those spots where you drive on roads that you typically drive on, and you're like, I'm just going to slow down preemptively. Not that I even see anything. I'm just going to slow down. Well, this is one of those spots where, it's a 35, but I have no problem. Like, there are times I'm like, I'm just going to coast up, and, by the time I hit the crest of that hill, I'm doing 20. Sometimes people behind me don't like that, but they can deal. And I come over this hill, and I come down in. There's a car in the road, and there's a Jeep in front of the car on its hood. I'm sorry, on its roof. And I just stop the car, throw on the hazards. No fire trucks, nothing going on. I can't, it's clear this just happened. So I turn the car off, put the hazards on, and just go up, okay, what's going on? And there are 3 people standing there. 2 young kids, 1 dad-looking guy. And I'm talking to him for a few minutes, and it takes a minute to realize that the dad-looking guy has nothing to do with this. He lives in the house right next door. Oh, well, hi, we haven't met yet. Your wife used to clean my house. And that changed things because I realized he was just kind of supervising. He wasn't actually being helpful. So I took stock of the situation and realized that, I'm trying to talk to the kid who was in the Jeep. He's banged up, but seems to be okay. But he was really focused on like getting stuff out of the Jeep. And I was like, all right, I need to figure out if this thing is going to blow up. And so I asked the other kid, I said, you saw this? He's like, yeah, I was following him. I said, okay, did it just kind of flip? Did it just kind of roll on its side, or did it roll? And he's like, no, it rolled. And from the distance, from what I was able to guess, it rolled. It was probably like 1.5. And I was like, all right, we shouldn't be in here in case this thing starts catching fire. And so he's in the Jeep, and I'm tapping on his leg, and I'm like, bud, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here. And he says, I gotta find my phone. I gotta call my mom. And I said, all right. And he's distraught. I'm not gonna wrestle him away. I'm not gonna try to take him away from, the thing that is keeping him focused right now. And I said, okay, find your phone quickly. And he can't find it. And I said, okay. Cars are starting to build up on either end that want to go by. It's not a heavily trafficked road, but cars use it, right? Like, at this point, I think we had probably 2 or 3 total, 2 on one end, 1 on the other, that wanted to go by. And they couldn't get by where this was just because of where we are and everything. And I said, all right, let's, and the woman who used to clean the house, Sasha, I said, Sasha, you have a fire extinguisher? Yeah, go grab it. Okay. She'd already called 911. So I get the kid out of the car. He's kind of over on the edge, and he starts to lose it. He just starts crying. And I was like, all right, friend, and I get their names. I was like, friend, I need you to keep him under control. So not dad guy and I, we clean out the debris so people can go by. We run traffic so the cars can get by. And a couple minutes later, vehicles start to show up. We get a couple fire trucks. There's an ambulance. I don't even know why the ambulance showed up. Because by the time the ambulance showed up, I'm getting ahead of myself. Cops show up. And this is where the story starts to turn from just, hey, I was just trying to do a nice thing, to I've got some strong opinions that I'm going to share with you. So at this point, the 2 people that own the house that I knew, they've kind of retreated back to their front lawn. I've got the only working phone, so we're starting to make some phone calls. with Wi-Fi calling, by the way. So I'm really thankful that I had that ability, because there are plenty of spots in Vermont where we don't have good cell coverage, and this is one of them. And so they're out of the way. The cops show up. A couple state troopers. Rescue people show up. Ambulance dispatched out of fire, and they're starting to work with the kid who was in the Jeep. And I want to call his family. Nope. So let me back up a little bit, because I'm getting things out of order and I'm about to get really upset. So the cops show up, and they come out of their vehicle, two of them, with this arrogant swagger that is so inappropriate in this situation that it upset me. You know, I'm standing there in my gym clothes. There's a vehicle on its roof. They know what happened. At no point do either of them ask, is everyone okay? Is there something we can do to be helpful? No, they go right into, let's figure out who was wrong here mode. And they're asking questions, taking notes on their paper. And they're asking these questions, they're going around, they're taking photos. They have given 0 Fs about what's going on with these kids who were, I think, both 17 and 18, something like that. Visibly young. They're asking me, you know, was I involved? No. And they're giving me this face like they don't believe me. So through this process, I realize I'm the only one who cares about what's going on with these kids. So while they've got the one who was in the Jeep, they're examining him. The ambulance staff is examining him. It wasn't even ambulance. It was a couple EMS that came out of the fire department. Actually, that's not true. They weren't in an ambulance because they had a stretcher. I'm still putting pieces together. And this kid's kind of leaned up against the car. The two EMS guys are checking him out. It was obvious he had a concussion, just the way his eyes were tracking and everything. And the cop goes over to them and asking questions, and he's asking me and the other kid questions and taking down notes and everything. And I said, all right, let's start making some phone calls. Because it's been like 15 minutes, and neither of these kids' parents know what's going on. And to me, that's ridiculous. So, kid who was not in the Jeep, they were friends, something was going on, they were following, and in order to not hit the Jeep, he had to lock up his brakes and blew a brake line. So his car wasn't drivable. And he was really panicked about that. He had to get to work tomorrow, etc. And so I said, all right, here's my phone, call somebody. So he's calling his mom, and he's keeping it together. He's doing a really good job. But you can tell, he's like, how am I gonna get to work? How, and one of the first things I told these kids, because they're both, one of them's, the one in the Jeep was crying, they're upset, they're scared. And I'm trying to get them to realize how lucky this situation is, how much worse it could have been. And I told them a story about the summer after I graduated high school. There was a party, and there was a car, and there were 5 kids that I'd gone to school with, and it had a very different turnout, let's put it that way. Because they're worried about their vehicles, they're worried about things that are far less important. And so that kid talks to his mother, she's gonna come. So the kid that's getting a medical exam, I go to him, and it took a couple minutes to get his phone number, because he was giving me his phone number, because he was acting like I was a cop or something. Finally get his number, managed to call. I had to leave a message. I had to leave a message for his mother. Explain what's going on very quickly in the message. He's going to be okay, right? Like, he's not like without limbs or something. There was barely any blood. It was probably just banged his head on the wheel, or thankfully, I think his windows were down, so he didn't bang his head on the glass. And the mom calls me back, and she's asking me questions. I can't answer all of them. So the other kids there, first kid, they're starting to put a collar on him. And so we'll call it first kid and second kid. So second kid, first kid was in the Jeep, rolled. Second kid, in much better shape. Second kid's talking to the cop. Now, still, I have not seen any of them express any empathy, either of them express any empathy for the situation. Are you okay? Do you want to sit down? Is there someone we can call? And so first kid's mom's asking me questions that I can't answer. So second kid's there, and I said, sir, I've got that kid's mom on the phone. May I interrupt, please, so I can ask him some questions I don't have answers to? Because, like, I don't even know these kids' names. Like, they told me, but, you know, names don't stick well with me. And he's like, oh, yeah. So that discussion happens to go on. At one point, cops asking me for my name, my phone number, my date of birth, where I live. I'm like, okay, whatever. And I stuck around until first kid got in the ambulance, went away. I lost the call with his mother. We start texting. She lets me know she's on the way to the hospital. Okay, cool. Second kid's mom shows up, so we're good to go. And, you know, I said goodbye to him, and I left. And I'm driving home, and I realize not one tiny bit of empathy from either of these officers. Now, I am not going to let this story turn into a broad, sweeping statement about law enforcement. I have friends who have been involved in law enforcement. I've dealt with officers who've been great. I've dealt with officers who have not. It's a very individual basis. Okay. But in this example, these two officers, and they were dispatched from the same barracks, which suggests to me the training is lacking for Vermont State Police. They forgot what their job is. What is the job of law enforcement? Protect and serve. Where was the serve? Where was the protect? All they cared about was the facts of what happened, and I suspect who was at fault. They asked me, well, so, you know, they didn't seem to believe me that I was just there being a good Samaritan. And so asking me about, you know, what happened, I came over the hill and I saw what was going on. So I pulled over and went to see if I could help. Okay, and then what? And then I convinced the kid to stop digging around in his Jeep for stuff in case it blew up. And he was like, oh, that was a good idea. Yeah, no crap. And so the point is, and there is going to be a martial arts piece to this. We're probably not going to get to. I will read the jokes after this because we'll all need them. The point to this is that part of the reason, a big part of the reason, so much of the United States is struggling with relationships with law enforcement right now is because there is no relationship with law enforcement. That either people have had zero exposure or entirely negative exposure to law enforcement. Given this situation, how are the police useful? How are the state troopers useful? They were not. They complicated the situation, and it would have been better off if they had not been there. They didn't offer to call a tow truck. They cared about how the cars were getting out of the road. but not, but only because the way it was presented was only because the road wasn't clear. They didn't care about the health of these children. They didn't care about the fact that they were terrified and barely keeping their composure. Yeah, that's how I feel. So the point is, this situation could have been very different. It could have been a positive experience for these kids. And they could have come out of it feeling like, huh, here are two people with badges that actually cared about what was going on with me. They made the circumstances better. I'm thankful they were there. That was a missed opportunity. Hey, I'm busy. You go eat your food. Not even a change in action, but a change in demeanor. I'm very thankful I was there, because it would have been I don't know. I don't know when those kids' parents would have found out. Stacy says, thank you for doing what you did. It bums me out when individual law enforcement officers don't live up to the fullness of their role. There are so many good ones affected by things like this. Yeah. So here's the martial arts piece. I got home. I sent a text to the woman that I know, one who used to clean my house. Hadn't texted her hadn't talked to her in almost 2 years, other than social media. And I said, I'm not thankful this happened, but I'm thankful it happened in front of your house. And she said, you were so level-headed in that situation that it was, her words were very praising, and it wasn't quite comfortable, so I'm not going to repeat them. But she pointed to the fact that in this situation I was very calm and very level-headed, and I was. And where does that come from? Martial arts training. All the drills, all the stress, all the fear inoculation that comes from the things that we do was on full display. As I sat there, here's the situation. I'm crouched next to an 18-year-old kid in a vehicle that could blow up at any minute. Probably not, there were no leaking fluids, but maybe, we don't know for sure. The car rolled. There are some unknowns here. And let's keep in mind that, there are all kinds of situations. So I'm dealing with him. I've got the two people who live in the home that I'm talking to. Okay. Did you call fire? Yeah, I called 911. Okay, cool. Can you get a fire extinguisher? I've got the other one the second kid, who's, the way he's coping is trying to talk. And because I'm stepping up as an adult, he's treating me like an authority figure, and he's trying to defend the actions of what they've done. And I was like, don't worry about it. It's okay. Right? So I've got the car, I've got the kid, I've got the other kid, I've got the couple, and then the debris, right? So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on that needed to be dealt with. And these are the type of things that martial arts sets us up for. We learn how to handle these situations because we practice awareness. We practice dealing with adrenaline. Where does my ability to focus on so many different things at once come from? From drills with multiple attackers. I am not thankful that this happened, but I am glad I was there and not someone else with less experience. The number of people who drove by, even before fire and cops got there, didn't even roll down their window, didn't check to see if anybody was okay. The first thing I thought when I pulled up was, crap, I don't have my big med bag. I have a big medical bag that I have like this much training on how to use the things, and I have very little in there that I don't know how to use, but maybe somebody else would. I don't drive around with that all the time because I am not trained. I am not EMS. I'm glad I assessed that kid as having a concussion correctly. But what if it had been somebody else? Who knows what would have happened? How long would it have been before those parents knew about their kids? When we talk about martial artists being better people, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Not just because I was willing to help, because I think most people are willing to help, but because I was able to help. I was able to take skills that I've developed over a lifetime of training and implement them in a real world situation in a way that has absolutely nothing to do with combat. This is why I'm big on traditional martial arts. So, let me read the jokes. I'm assuming Frank left us some jokes, and we're going to end on that. We're not going to have time for quotes today. Because I thought it was more important to give you that story. Those are yesterday's with Michael Phelps. Oh, by the way, did you check out the How to Fight episode yesterday? Hope you liked it. We've gotten a lot of great feedback on it. All right. So here's the jokes, and then I'll pick like one of the quotes. I'll probably read the last quote as we roll out. The jokes for Funday Friday. July is cell phone courtesy month. Why was the cell phone wearing glasses? It lost its contacts. Denise says no, she hasn't watched it yet, but it's in her queue. I use my cell phone as an alarm clock. I call it Verizon Shine. What is the fastest cell phone service provider? Sprint. Why did the Hobbit set his cell phone to vibrate? He was afraid the ring would give him away. Oh, I like this one. This is a nerdy one. What is Sauron's favorite brand of cell phone? Mordorola. You might be able to use a smuggled cell phone in prison. You just have to have cell coverage. What group of people have always had the highest cell phone bills? The Romans. Why did the cell phone go see an optometrist? It needed contacts. I got a new cell phone for my wife. Pretty awesome trade if you ask me. That's a Rodney Dangerfield line if I ever heard one. What do you call a bald spot? What do you call a bald spot on a cell phone salesperson? A gap in coverage. What kind of cell phone doesn't have a lock? A Nokia. Nice. Well done, Frank. All right. So today, on this day in 1932, Wendy's founder Dave Thomas was born. 3 things he didn't want people to know about him are: he was born out of wedlock, he was adopted, and he didn't earn his GED until much later in life. Despite all of this, look at what he was able to do with his life. Is there anything better than a Frosty? You know what? In celebration, I will probably go, we have a Wendy's. We have like a Wendy's. No, that's not true. I think we have, yeah, there's one down there. We have 2. I'm going to go get a Frosty. They're not good for you. They're loaded with sugar, but they're so tasty. And it's one of the few things, you know, I have a few really strong childhood memories, and Frosties are one of them. So our last quote from Dave Thomas, I'm going to read this one. And if you want to read the other 4, you can certainly go on. You can look at, they're on yesterday's episode. You earn your reputation by the things you do every day. Well said. Very true. Stacy says, take care of you. Have a good long weekend. And you, Stacy, I hope you all take care of yourself. I hope you all have a great Friday, great weekend. I got plenty of work to do outside and inside because it's going to rain, and gardening and hiking. And Denise says, have a happy 4th. Yes. If you are in the United States celebrating Independence Day, I hope you enjoy that. And I hope you leave me some stuff for Monday. I hope it was okay with all of you that I told you that story. I needed to tell it to somebody. And I thought, who better than all of you? If you have questions or anything, if you have follow-up, let me know. Just hope those kids are both okay. Denise says, glad you did. Good. Take care, everyone. I will see you back here on Monday. Peace.